Night crawls back in, and the edges of childhood don't feel safe anymore. Faces at doors, feet in hallways, voices that shouldn't know your name. Welcome to Midnight Reddit. True stories that don't sleep. Turn down the lights, hit subscribe if you love scary stories, and share your own in the comments. When I was 8, the neighborhood kids and I held a tiny car boot sale in the empty lot near our street. An older man wandered over, complimented our tables, and bought a few of my toys. He kept calling me pretty and sweetheart, then leaned in and, just to me, said he had lots of toys at his house I could sell next time. Gave me his address and told me to bring friends to help carry them. We never did another sale. I didn't understand how close I'd come to something awful until years later. After we moved into a new place, my mom and I shared a room while we settled in. The only light was a sliver from the landing under the door. I watched the handle turn. The door creaked open, and an older woman peered around, looked straight at me, and slipped away. I dove under the covers, heart pounding. Then my mom whispered from the floor, "Did you just see someone peer around the door?" Neither of us slept the rest of the night. My sister and I had a prank war until we called a truce for my 11th birthday. That night, my closet door slid open. I got up to shove her and win the last laugh, but the person who stepped out wasn't my sister. Long black hair, scars, taller than an adult woman, and the smell of the night on her. I couldn't scream. She raised a finger to her lips and whispered, "Shh," opened my window, climbed out, and eased it closed behind her. For years, I told myself it was a ghost. Now I'm sure it was someone high and lost. Growing up poor on the plains of western South Dakota, I read a local history and learned about land my step-great-grandfather had annexed during the Dust Bowl. The Millers, my family said, who'd abandoned their place during a storm. I went looking and found nothing but prairie and breaks. Weeks later, I rode into a V between the breaks and spotted an angle of roof poking from the earth, an attic vent. I pulled it free, slid inside, and peered down a hole to the rooms below. Something lay on the floor. I bolted. When I took my cousin back, my tracks were there, but the roof, the vent, the house, gone. As a kid, I thought I dreamed of an old woman in a blue dress with cat-eye glasses sitting at the end of my bed, singing the same song each night. One time I followed her into my brother's room. Instead of singing, she and my 5-year-old brother talked. My mom came in, sent us back to bed. In the morning, she scolded me for sneaking into his room the night before. I told her about the woman. Years later, an aunt visiting from down south refused to enter the house. Said an old woman in cat glasses was standing in the upstairs window. At a park picnic, I got separated from everyone. A woman in thick-rimmed glasses, long curly black hair, and a friendly face asked if I was lost. I nodded. She reached out her hand. "Don't you remember me? I'm a friend of your mother's. I'll take you to her." I told her my friend John would find me. She tilted her head and said, "Did you know that you have the most beautiful eyes?" She reached again, and John sprinted up, breathless, grabbed my wrist, and pulled me away. Weeks later at the mall, she walked toward my mother and me. My mom didn't stop or smile, didn't know her at all. As we passed, the woman looked down at me and smiled like she'd gotten away with something. One night I crept to the living room in the dark and heard a sound I couldn't explain, like the room itself exhaled. I froze 5 full minutes, certain something waited to cut me in half. Days later, I heard it again in daylight, followed the sound, and watched a fine mist fall from the top of the bookcase. My mom had bought a Time spray air freshener, nothing paranormal, just cold terror over a click of Febreze. In church as a child, my aunt brought me to the front rail to pray. Eyes closed, hands lifted, I felt a pair of palms press flat to mine and sway with me. I thought it was the pastor's wife. Happy she'd chosen me, I opened my eyes to smile. No one was there. Everyone nearby was praying with someone else. I closed my eyes and the hands were still there, warm and steady against mine. When I was in preschool, most kids at our posh school were light-skinned and rich. I was brown and bullied, except by a boy named Christian. Blonde curls, pink cheeks, an accent that made the other kids tease him too. During recess, a bully shoved him off the slide and pinched his shoulder while he begged him to stop. He complained about the pain all through dance rehearsal. He missed school for weeks. The last time we saw him, his father brought him in to say goodbye, smiling like a catalog model. Christian was missing his arm, gone from the shoulder the bully had pinched. I was 4 when they locked me in an empty bedroom. No bed, no curtains, just a radiator under the window and a box of crayons. I peed in the closet and melted crayons on the radiator to pass time. The smell of wax and ammonia thickened the orange glow of a street lamp. 2 days at least. I remember a black woman in a beige trench coat, maybe a caseworker, a lobby with a deli where I ate a tuna sandwich, fiddling with a metal pull-tab game on the wall, a cab. Years later, walking the Tacoma waterfront, I passed a house that made my stomach roll. I'm almost sure it was the one. When I was 12, miles from home with friends on a bright day, I felt an immediate, overwhelming need to go back. I just knew our new stray dog had started chewing the kitchen linoleum, and I had to stop her. I biked 3/4 of a mile, opened the door, and found her gnawing a corner. I took her out, fed her, and waited with her the rest of the day. Later I learned linoleum can block a dog's guts, and its toxins can be deadly. That tug saved the dog that saw my family through years we barely survived. It was summer, I was 14, and a few friends and I were playing cards in my open garage when a man in all white, shirt, linen pants, shoes, walked slowly down the center of our quiet street. He stopped at my mailbox and stared down at the road, never once acknowledging us. An old white Cadillac glided up, 3 people inside, all in white shirts. He got in without a word. They drove away. We still talk about it. Driving home from the gym around 1 a.m. in the fog, I passed a crosswalk with sensor lights that flash when someone's there. The lights went off as I rolled by. In my rear view, a figure stood 10 feet behind me in the middle of the road, impossible to have missed. I punched it. At the next stop sign, I glanced back. Same figure under a lamp, 15 feet behind me. I ran signs, turned at random. Mid-turn on an unlit street, I saw him in the lane ahead, back turn. I floored it. He stood there, then vanished when I blinked. A metallic clang hit my roof. The car shuddered. I drove and something rolled off the back glass and bumper. In the morning, my mom asked why the roof looked like something fell on it. There were dents, a clear handprint on the rear window, a boot scuff on the bumper, and finger tracks through dust. In the early 90s, my family had a big boxy van with bench seats. Nobody wore seatbelts. Halfway home late at night, something pressed in my mind. Buckle up. 5 minutes later, at 70 miles per hour, we T-boned a red Camry. The bolts holding my seat to the floor stripped. I'd have gone through the windshield if I hadn't clicked in. Years later, I felt a sudden panic on the freeway and drifted to the slow lane. 30 seconds later, a semi plowed into the lane I'd left. In West Africa, my little brother and I shared a bed while my parents hosted friends. Around 10:30, our blanket slid off. "Evan, stop," I whispered. "What are you talking about?" he mumbled. 10 minutes later, a soft groan. The blanket was at our ankles. "On 3, turn on the lamp," I told him. "I'll grab the bat." He hit the light. At the foot of the bed, a woman crawled, pale, exhausted. I screamed. She flinched and said, "I'm sorry. Your mom told me there were extra blankets up here. She's helping patients downstairs because the power's out at the hospital." My mom had sent her to the closet. She thought our bed was the door. I woke one night and saw a hooded figure by my dresser. I told myself it was clothes draped weird. but it turned and two red eyes stared back. I leaped up and flipped the light. Nothing was there. My dog, though, was still on the bed, locked on that corner, refusing to move or come when I called from the hall. I had to go back in and carry her out. She never slept in my room again. In elementary school, teachers pulled me aside to say a man had tried to pick me up midday. He wasn't my parents, so they refused him. The school never told my family. When I asked my parents, they were shocked. They hadn't sent anyone. That same year at dismissal, a man tried to grab a girl while hundreds of kids boarded buses. She wriggled free and a minivan sped off. I remember the roar of it. I was 10 with the flu and cracked, bleeding lips when I dreamed of a blonde girl in overalls who walked up, kissed me and said, "I'm sorry, but we can never be together." I woke with the taste of strawberry lip balm and smooth lips. 2 years later, I saw her again on a wooded path. I chased her to a gazebo where she sat with an old man. I blinked and stood back at the start of the trail. When I ran to the spot, there was only a fallen log. I went back every September. Nothing. At 4 years old, I ran up the unfinished porch steps with no rails and tripped near the top. I pitched over the side at full speed, braced for impact, and hung upside down. My feet were planted flat on the step edge, ankles locked, but I wasn't flexing. I thought I'd better not interfere, and waited. My sister grabbed my feet and my dad lifted me back. I still don't know what caught me. On Sundays, I'd tag along as my dad checked moisture dowels in the walls of a decrepit manor the company was restoring. I always played in the same upstairs child's room. One morning, I felt watched and saw the hem of a long skirt slip past the doorway. I crept into the hall and caught the back of a woman in a floor-length skirt turning into another room. I followed 2 seconds behind. No one was there. My dad and I searched every floor. The only way out past us, there was nowhere for her to go. What about you? What memory from childhood still gives you that quiet, crawling chill? Midnight fades, but the stories don't. See you next time on Midnight Reddit.